For years, whenever Yaman appeared on a talk show or a live program, the audience expected confidence, charisma, and control. He has built an image of the man who always knows what to say, who turns every question into an opportunity, who smiles and charms his way through even the toughest interviews. But this time, this night was different. The cameras were rolling, the lights were blinding, and in the middle of an otherwise smooth conversation, a name slipped into the air: Sara Bluma. And with that, everything changed. The confident actor, who was used to commanding attention, suddenly froze. His face, usually so composed, carried a flicker of something unexpected. Was it shock, discomfort, maybe even guilt? The audience felt it instantly. Social media lit up within seconds. But let's rewind and understand how we even got to this moment. The interview was supposed to be just another stop in Yaman's endless media tour. He was there to promote his latest project, to answer questions about his career, his travels between Rome and Istanbul, his charity work, and of course, the upcoming season of Sandokan. The mood at the beginning was light. Fans outside the studio were chanting his name, holding banners, waving posters. Inside, the host asked the usual safe questions: how does he balance fame with private life? What does Italy mean to him? What's next in his career? Ken smiled, joked, and the crowd applauded. Everything was going according to plan, until the host, with just the right amount of mischief in her voice, leaned forward and said, "And what about Sara Bluma?" The silence that followed was louder than any cheer. For the first time in years, Yaman didn't have an immediate answer. His lips pressed together, his eyes shifted for a second as if looking for an escape. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every micro-expression, the twitch in his jaw, the sudden blink, the sharp intake of breath. And then the murmurs started. The audience in the studio, sensing the tension, whispered to one another. Those watching at home reached for their phones, recording the screen, tweeting, posting on Instagram. Something had just happened, something raw, real, and unplanned. Why was Sara Bluma's name so dangerous for him? To the casual fan, she might be just another influencer, a rising name on social media, someone who occasionally appears in the gossip pages. But for those who follow closely, Sara has been tied to Ken in ways that are both mysterious and controversial. There were the photos in Rome, the late-night stories on Instagram, the cryptic captions about heartbreak and betrayal. For months, speculation had run wild. Was she just a friend? Was she something more? Or was she the ghost of a romance that never fully became public? And here, in the most vulnerable setting, a live interview, this fragile secret was suddenly dragged into the open. Yaman's first words after the question were hesitant. He laughed nervously, adjusted his jacket, tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. But the host didn't let go. "People want to know," she said, "because the rumors are everywhere. You and Sara, what's the truth?" At that moment, the atmosphere in the studio shifted entirely. You could feel the electricity, the tension so thick it was almost tangible. And Ken knew he couldn't just ignore it. His reaction, the way he finally answered, would reveal more than any headline or rumor ever could. And that's exactly why this moment went viral. Because instead of the usual polished performance, what the world saw was a man caught off guard, unprepared, and almost human. What makes this moment unforgettable is not just the question itself, but the weight of the history behind it. To understand why Ken's reaction was so powerful, we have to revisit the complicated story that connects him, Sara Bluma, and the endless speculation that followed them both across continents. It all began nearly 2 years ago, when Sara, then an up-and-coming figure in Italian social media, was spotted attending the same events as Ken. At first, it seemed harmless. Rome is a small city when it comes to celebrity circles, and stars often overlap in restaurants, premieres, and charity galas. But soon, fans noticed patterns, the same locations in different posts, similar captions that hinted at shared experiences, late-night stories that seemed to echo each other. By the time the tabloids got hold of it, the narrative had already spun out of control. Headlines screamed about a secret romance, about a hidden woman in Yaman's life, and about a rivalry that was supposedly brewing with Demet Özdemir, the actress forever tied to his name. Sara's own social media didn't help. She posted cryptic messages about being misunderstood, about the price of silence, about truths that can't be hidden forever. Each post only fueled the fire. And Can, despite being asked repeatedly, never directly addressed it. Until now. So when the host mentioned her name in that live interview, it was like opening a sealed box of secrets in front of millions of viewers. The audience wasn't just hearing a name, they were hearing all the echoes of months of rumors, all the whispers of betrayal, all the fantasies fans had spun about Can's private life. And Can's silence, even if just for a few seconds, was more telling than any denial could ever be. When he finally spoke, his words were careful. "Sara is someone I respect," he said. Short, clipped, almost rehearsed. But his eyes betrayed him. There was something unsaid, something locked behind the politeness of his statement. He tried to move on, but the damage was done. The clip spread like wildfire across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Fans slowed down the footage, analyzing his expressions frame by frame, debating in comments whether he was hiding pain, regret, or something else entirely. For Sara herself, the moment was a spotlight she didn't even have to ask for. Within hours, her follower count skyrocketed. Her name trended worldwide alongside Can's. And the question everyone asked was, what does this mean for Demet? Because in the world of Turkish-Italian celebrity gossip, every move Can makes is somehow tied back to his past with Demet Özdemir. The love story fans still refuse to let go, the chemistry that never died in the public imagination, the interviews where Demet herself has hinted at unresolved emotions, all of it collided with this one question. The truth is, the interview revealed less about Sara and more about Can. It showed that, despite his carefully controlled public image, there are still cracks. Moments where real emotion slips through. And for fans, those cracks are everything. They don't just want the polished actor, they want the man beneath, the man who might still carry feelings he doesn't dare admit. The fallout from that night was immediate. By the next morning, every major entertainment outlet in Turkey and Italy had picked up the story. Headlines in bold letters screamed, "Can Yaman's silence speaks volumes, Sara Bluma bombshell shakes live TV, what he didn't say about Demet." Talk shows replayed the clip on loop. Analysts, gossip columnists, and body language experts gave their interpretations. Some said he was hiding a romance. Others claimed his hesitation showed he was protecting someone. A few even suggested the silence wasn't about Sara at all, but about the ghost of Demet, still haunting him even in new relationships. Meanwhile, fans divided into camps. Some defended Can, saying he had every right to keep his private life private, that the host had crossed a line by ambushing him with a personal question. Others felt betrayed, arguing that if he had nothing to hide, he would have answered directly. And then there were the fans who turned the spotlight onto Demet, flooding her Instagram with comments, "Did you see what he said? Are you okay? This proves he still thinks of you." Demet herself remained silent, as she often does when gossip storms erupt. But her silence, just like Can's, spoke louder than words. Sara, on the other hand, seemed to enjoy the attention. Within hours of the interview, she posted a story on Instagram, just a single line, "Truth is never afraid of the light." No names, no photos, but everyone knew what it meant. The timing was perfect, calculated, and it poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Suddenly, the question wasn't just about whether something had happened between her and Can. It was about why neither of them was willing to tell the full story. And this is the core of why the moment went viral. It wasn't just about celebrity gossip, it was about the drama of human relationships, the secrets people keep, and the emotions that can't be hidden when the spotlight is too bright. Can Yaman, usually so composed, showed vulnerability. And in that vulnerability, the world saw a glimpse of something authentic, something real. That's what fans crave, not the carefully curated perfection, but the messy truth hiding underneath. As the storm grew, one thing became clear: this live interview had become a turning point in Can Yaman's public image. For years, he was seen as untouchable, the man with perfect looks, a glittering career, and endless confidence. But in those few seconds of hesitation, he reminded everyone that fame doesn't erase human complexity. That even someone as adored as can be caught off guard, blindsided by a question that cuts too close to the heart. The question now is, where does he go from here? Will he address Sara directly, clearing the air once and for all? Or will he continue to let the silence speak for him, allowing fans and media to fill in the blanks? And what about Demet? Because no matter what he says or doesn't say about Sara, the shadow of his connection with Demet Özdemir will always hang over him. Fans still cling to the fantasy of a reconciliation, of a love story reignited. Every silence, every hesitation, every flicker of emotion is interpreted as a sign that the story isn't over. What makes this narrative so powerful is that it blends reality and fantasy. The audience knows they are watching celebrities, but they project their own hopes, fears, and heartbreaks onto them. Canned silence becomes the silence of every person who has struggled to answer a painful question. Sara's cryptic posts become the voice of every lover who has felt ignored. Demet's quiet becomes the strength of every woman who refuses to be dragged into drama. And together, they create a triangle that no scriptwriter could ever invent, but which feels more dramatic than any TV series. In the end, the viral clip will fade, as all clips do. Another scandal will replace it, another headline will grab attention. But what remains is the image, Yaman, eyes darting, lips pressed, unable to escape a name that carries too much weight. That moment will live on in fan edits, in gossip pages, in whispered conversations. It will be replayed, reinterpreted, reimagined. And every time, it will remind people that even the brightest stars can stumble when confronted with the truth. And perhaps, that's why fans love him even more now. Because beyond the perfect roles, the glamorous events, the million-dollar contracts, he showed something real. He showed what it means to be human. And in today's world, where everything feels scripted and fake, that raw humanity is priceless.